you have a choice. You can either come home or you can go back. And I remember thinking, I have nothing to go back for. And I have 2 daughters I love with all my heart. But it's so funny when you're in that space, how detached you become from everything and everyone, because you know this profound truth that death is not the end. Right when I had this realization, the web shifted and it cleared out, and then I saw the collective web. Every one of us, how we were interconnected, how everything that we have, every action is a reaction. Death is just a transition, and we will come back and we will be back together, and it will become very clear to everyone once we all come back home. My name is Brheanna, and I am here today to discuss my near-death experience that happened in December of 2020. Um, to give you some backstory of who I was prior to this experience, um, I had lived a very trauma-based life, very difficult. When I say I chose a hard path, I chose a hard path. So in that, I had kind of dumped my spiritual path. I had become obsessed at a young age of learning about spiritualism and religion, because I felt so connected to something being there. But because I felt like I had been abandoned by all things divine, with the trauma that I had gone through, I decided to go very logic-based and decided to carve out a path of business and building a life for myself and my children. I didn't come from much, and so I became very, very driven in being successful, or what I thought success looked like, money, abundance, those kind of things. And I was not in alignment with who I truly was. I was fighting and creating limitations in my own life because I later found out, betraying who I was at a soul level. So in December of 2020, this is at the height of COVID, I developed a cough and it was very severe. So I went to the emergency room. I was tested for COVID 3 times. I don't have COVID. They gave me antibiotics and they sent me home. 2 days later, my cough had gotten worse and I went back to the emergency room, again, tested for COVID, not COVID. They put me on steroids and they sent me home again. And I waited about a day and a half and my cough was getting so severe. So I went back into the emergency room and they told me that the steroids hadn't had enough time to take hold. And so they wanted me to go home and allow the medicine to take hold. And so that I could actually heal. And they tested me for COVID. Still don't have COVID. Later that night, I was getting ready to go to bed. I was walking up my stairs and I had this coughing fit where I collapsed on my landing, which is pretty much the last thing I remember of being at home. My now ex-husband rushed me to the emergency room. I don't remember a lot in that, but I do remember coming to a little bit, and they were testing me for COVID again. And I said, it's not effing COVID. And then I don't remember much after that. And the next thing I remember is standing at the foot of my bed. And I remember looking at my body and being so completely detached from it. Like, I knew it was me, but I just had no attachment to that physical body, that vessel. And I tell people it's kind of like getting out of your car. You like your car, it's very useful. It gets you from A to B, but you're not attached to it to the point where, you can't get out of it, and that was very much what it felt like in that experience for me. And I remember standing there at the foot of my bed, and I remember this voice next to me. And at this point, I wasn't sure that I was dying. It was still this kind of in between. I hadn't really gotten my bearings yet at that point. But then when I heard this voice, I looked over and there was this girl that I know from this lifetime. I've met her one time. I know she is the daughter of a boy that I knew in high school. And in my experience, I remember looking over and she was like 20, 25 age, growth. But in this lifetime, and she is alive and well in this lifetime, she is maybe 16, maybe 14 at that time, 14 to 16 at that time. And I remember just knowing her essence. Like I just knew her on a soul level. And she said to me, she's like, "It's crazy, isn't it?" And I remember looking at her and a little confused. I was like, "What?" And she's like, "How much limitation we have in a world full of abundance." And I remember being really profound when she said it, but I still hadn't clicked in yet that I was dying or that I had crossed into that world. At that point, she starts to explain to me that because I had chose such a difficult life path, that I had written into my soul contract 2 exit clauses. One was in 2011, where I had another near-death experience. It wasn't as profound as this one, but I had gotten E. coli, and obviously my soul didn't take that exit. And I was now at the second exit point. And she told me, she's like, "You have a choice. You can either come home or you can go back." And I remember thinking, I have nothing to go back for. And I have 2 daughters I love with all my heart. But it's so funny when you're in that space, how detached you become from everything and everyone, because you know this profound truth that death is not the end. It is only a transition. And we know that the second we cross over. It's not like it takes a second. I knew that my soul contract was laid out. My path had been chosen. My destiny was in play. My children's are the same. So you're not attached to the outcome of that. And I remember thinking, like, I had nothing to go back. And she told me, she's like, "You are going to go back. You are going to end up on your spiritual path. And you are going to be a healer and a teacher. And you are going to teach and help awaken the collective to the truth of what we are coming into." Now, remember, this is in 2020, so I really didn't know what we were coming into. I knew things were changing in the world, but not anywhere near what I understood in that moment. And so at that moment, kind of off to the corner of the room, all of a sudden this like blinding white light opened up, and I just remember being like pulled towards it. When I entered it, I was all of a sudden in this like sea of vortex of energy and vibration and like waves of color. And within that, there were all these symbols, and some I recognized as like sacred geometry, but many I didn't know. And I've later found those symbols, and they were ancient Babylon, and they're found in the Emerald tablets, and they were in Atlantis and Egypt. And obviously I didn't know what they were at that time. I just knew they were significant. And as I was in this vortex, it was like these symbols were passing through my body, or what would be my body, I should say, because I wasn't really a physical form. So my essence, I guess, is the best way I could describe it. But I remember it just passing through my essence, and I kind of come out of this vortex, and I'm thinking I'm going home, right? At that point, I was like, "Oh, I'm going home," and I pass off to the other side of this vortex, and there were 2 light beings standing there. They were so excited to see me. Like, it was almost like, if you were trapped on a deserted island and could only make a phone call like once a year, your friends would be so excited to hear from you, right? It was like that. They knew I was going to be there, and they just were like, "How is it?" And just this insane amount of love just pouring out of, I mean, this happened from the second I stepped out of my body, but I mean, at that moment, I just knew, I knew these souls too. Like, they were my friends, I guess is the best way to describe it. Now, consciously in this lifetime, I don't know who they are, but I knew we were soul family. I knew immediately these were people that were close to me. And I remember their childlike energy. They were so, so childlike. I mean, there's no anger, there's no animosity, there's no limitations that we have in this world on that side. And I remember them kind of like this bouncy energy, like they wanted me to tell them everything I could. And I realized then at that moment, and everything kind of happens telepathically, you're not speaking, so this happens very instantaneously. But this is when I was explained that the souls that have incarnated on Earth during this time, in this major shift, were chosen to be here. You had to be a very evolved soul to come here. And so those beings were excited that I was there, because it was like, you're playing the game, and they're sitting in the stands, and they just wanted to know everything. And I remember just being like overwhelmed by their love and adoration. And I'm still in my mind thinking, me, my 3D pattern was just kind of limiting in the fact that these people these beings would be so excited to talk to me, but that's true for everyone. So I tell people that, I'm like, if you ever are having a hard time, anyone that's on Earth right now, you are the most powerful of the souls. You wouldn't be here right now if you weren't, because the most evolved souls are here right now. And anyway, so I'm having this telepathic communication with them, and I start noticing in the background of where I was this, I call it the void now, but it was almost like standing on a cliff to like endless eternity. You just sense that there was so much infinite possibilities in this space. As I was kind of taking that in, I look up at the sky, or what would be the sky, I guess, and I see this web, and it was like a quantum web of everything that had ever happened in my entire life. It was like little screens almost that were showing me every moment of my life and how they were all interconnected. Those moments all were connected, and even the most horrific things that happened to me to the greatest joys I had. And I even saw how my presence on Earth had affected the collective, just being here. We always think we're so small because our ego mind wants us to see results of what we do. So when we do something kind, we don't get to see down the road that maybe that person paid that forward and you made one of the biggest changes in the universe just by doing your bit. But because we don't see it, we don't realize how significant we are in this world. And so that was kind of what they were showing me, how these little acts of kindness, or where I stayed kind, where I could have chose pain or anger or inflicting that on other people because of the trauma I had gone through, how it rippled out into the field and into the quantum field. And so as I was looking at this, I started to realize that not only was everything interconnected, but even the things or the people that had done what we would label as horrific things to me are actually the people that I'm the closest to in my soul family. They choose to come here to play a villain in our role, in our life, to help us evolve to where we will be able to take this path that we have chosen in our soul contracts, our destiny path, if you will. And so I immediately just felt this like sense of, I forgave everything and everyone. It just like, it wiped everything clear. And pain and trauma I had been holding on to for decades. It just immediately was just wiped away. Then that scene, and how that all, well, and all of it, I'm like looking, it's almost like the horizon was like over the sky. And then I like see, just the last year over here and how all these things, all of it like funneled into that moment that put me in that hospital bed at that moment. And I realized there was no separation. There are no coincidences. There is no separation from me, from you, from anybody. We are all intertwined. And right when I had this like realization, the web shifted and it like cleared out. And then I saw the collective web. Every one of us, how we were interconnected, how everything that we have, every action is a reaction. There is no chance encounters. There's no coincidence that you just happen to meet someone. Every single thing is done in a way that we end up exactly on our path. So I would definitely say, if you're ever feeling lost, no, you are exactly where you are supposed to be at the exact moment you are supposed to be there. And I feel like that helped me after my near-death experience to really accept that I was putting way too much pressure and too much credit to myself, that I was messing everything up, or, it's like, nah, you are so guided. And so as I was looking at the collective web, I realized how many of us feel that limitation and feel small in our skin here on this planet in this 3D. And I remember feeling really overwhelmingly sad for the collective. And this is when one of my spirit guides came and was standing next to me. And he was saying to me that I have always taken on everyone else's pain because I knew what immense pain was. And that was actually what had landed me in that moment of my near-death experience, because I was picking up everybody's wounds and carrying it for them. And it was slowly. And so, yes, fungal pneumonia is what kind of kicked that domino. But I had been carrying all this energy and weight for so long because I felt I needed to heal everyone else, because it was easier for me to deflect healing my own wounds by trying to heal others. And so he was showing me this. And I remember at this point, this is where I felt the most like of that immense love. I had at that point felt like I had messed up my entire life. I was like, I had made so many bad decisions. I just don't even know what I'm doing. And that's when I just felt this like love that said, you did exactly what you set out to do. And that was when I forgave myself, because at that point I had already forgiven everyone else. And in that moment was when I forgave myself for caring so much, but also knowing that, like, I knew at that moment my next phase was going to be where I actually got the opportunity to help people heal, and that I had been just carrying their pain and not helping them transmute that pain, And so in that moment, that was where I knew I was going back. And I got really sad because I was kind of at that point like, oh, I'm going home, But my guide told me, he's like, you don't want to go home. He's like, you came here and your purpose is big and you are going to help a lot of people get on their path. And so at that moment, I got a big hug from everyone. And I did have a moment. My brother passed away when I was 19, and he kind of came over and gave me a hug. He didn't say anything because I think at that point I had already developed a really good connection. I have always had very intuitive abilities. I just really denied them, kind of, oh, that was a coincidence. That's weird. I had all these things to rationally dismiss a lot of things that I had already been aware of. And so they all give me a hug. They're like, when you get back, your spiritual path will begin. Then I remember being in my body. I remember being very disappointed, but also excited. I was still very weak at that point. And I remember, I don't know how long I had been, um, well, I mean, my death was 6 minutes, but still unconscious. I don't know the time between that to that. But I remember the nurse came in and was doing like my vitals, and my cart was crashing. The alarm was going. And she's like, her blood pressure is really low. And I remember this last ditch effort to be like, no, 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 that's supposed to be like that. I remember saying that, like, I wanted to go back. Like, maybe if you guys just don't try to do anything here, I can go home. And that didn't work. But, I was in the hospital for several days after that. And I remember being on this major high once I healed enough. Like, I'm going to get on my path. I'm so excited. And then for a year, I was studying, I was working with shamans, I was doing all the things, and I felt nothing changing. And I felt like I was disappointing my team I had just met in this near-death experience. Like, I'm not doing it right. And I noticed I went right back to my old pattern of belief that I was doing something wrong. I would have to do more. Um, well, and this in March of the next year, I had a Kundalini awakening spontaneously. And that's when everything shifted. It was where it all funneled. It was almost like they gave me a runway to kind of ease into what was going to happen. And then I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And ever since then, I never stopped channeling. It all just came in. And I realized at that same point, right before my Kundalini awakening, I started doing what's called light body activations. And this is where I saw those symbols that were going through my essence. They were in these healing modalities that I now work with. But I remember seeing them all passing through my essence. So I realized that there are ways we can do this without, I always kind of make jokes with people. I'm like, I died so you don't have to, and there's just so many things we could do to ascend and to get into those higher vibrations. But yeah, I'm just grateful that I'm back. And I will say that my life has changed a complete, 360 doesn't even describe it. Before my near-death experience, I owned a farm. I had a retail store. I was doing all the things that on paper looked good. And I now since have completely shifted. I am a spiritual healer. I do sound therapy. I do quantum healing hypnosis, and help people to recall their past lives and their memories so that they can also get on this path of ascension as we ascend into these higher dimensions that are coming in, our 3D, 4D, 5D timelines. And so I really love what I do. I wake up every day very passionate. Another fun thing that kind of came out of that is in 1 year, I look completely different because I dropped all that trauma that I had been carrying for everyone. And I realized how much our physical bodies hold that trauma. It's not just, you're heavier or, a trauma face, all that is so real because we carry so much weight for all the people around us. And we think we're doing it as a honor or a sacrifice, and we are really not doing anyone any favors carrying that weight for them, because everyone has to do the healing to go within. That's where God's source is. It's within us. It's not in a building. It's not in, it's in nature and within us, because we are all connected to the earth, to everything in us. And, I think one of the most profound things that people really could take away from this is you can't outsource your pain and you can't outsource your healing. It has to be within. So like I tell my clients all the time, if you want out, you got to go in, because that is where you will find your salvation, your sovereignty, your alignment. You can have guides and you can have people that help you along the path, but ultimately you have to remember that you have to learn to self-trust and know that your internal compass is not leading you wrong. Follow that gut instinct. Know that you are being guided. Every single one of us. No one has been abandoned. I promise you, they are with all of us, because we are here on not just our own purpose. We are on here on a team mission, and we are all in this together. Not not one side against another side or any of that. This is all about us coming together and acting out of unconditional love. Some avatars that have come to the earth plane, and this was something that I was shown. Oh, I'll add this in too. I forgot about this. But when I came back right away, I understood quantum physics like I had studied it all my life. I understood the simulation theory. I understand quantum entanglement. Like I just understood it all. And a lot of the avatars that we know that have come to the earth plane, Buddha, Jesus, all these different avatars that have tried to teach us about our consciousness, they're all telling us that we are alchemists. We are all Christ, not someone else separate. We are all, and we're all here acting together. And if we believe in unconditional, if we act out of unconditional love, you too could alchemize your reality into anything you want. That's how Jesus turned water into wine. And, because it was acting out of unconditional love, not because I need something back or any of that. It's just fully empathizing with everyone around you that you and I are not separate. We are completely intertwined. And that, I think, is the most important message for people that I got from my near-death experience, that, just a little more kindness. Well, we need a lot more kindness at this point. Who am I kidding? We need a lot of kindness on the earth plane right now, and just being loving, and remember that we are being told we have all these differences, but the truth is we don't. We're all the same. We're different in the details, but at the end of the day, we are all divine light beings, and we came here with a mission to break this old paradigm of anger and hostility and rage and war and all of this, because this is not who we are at our soul. Our soul knows. So I always tell people, your ego is always trying to rush you along because it knows its time is finite. That's the body. This isn't coming with you, but your soul knows. And this is where love is so easy as a soul, because you're infinite, and that death is just a transition, and we will come back and we will be back together, and it will become very clear to everyone once we all come back home. So that's my story.